Welcome, brave souls, to shadows and shivers, where the night whispers secrets and the shadows have stories to tell. Prepare yourself for tales that crawl under your skin and stay there. Dim the lights, settle in, and let the chilling journey begin. The haunted classroom that no one uses. I'll never forget the year I found out why my school keeps one classroom locked at all times. It's not because it's broken. It's because it's haunted. And I learned that the hard way. Back in high school, everyone knew about room 2B. Nobody ever had classes there. The windows were grimy, the door was chained shut, and teachers avoided even talking about it. Whenever someone asked, they'd just say, "Don't worry about that room," and walk away. That only made us more curious. Whenever I walked down that hallway, the air would turn freezing cold, even in the summer. Sometimes, if you leaned your ear against the door, you could hear faint noises, chairs scraping, papers fluttering. Once, I swore I heard someone crying on the other side. The story was that, years ago, a student stayed for detention in that room and never walked out. No one really knew what happened, but the rumors spread like wildfire. One night, after a school play, 3 of my friends and I decided we had to see for ourselves. Marco, my friend, laughed nervously and said, "Come on, it's just an old storage room." But even he looked uneasy. We spotted the janitor's keys hanging near the office. My heart was pounding as I slid the heavy key into the lock of room 2B. The door creaked open slowly, and the smell of dust and mold hit us instantly. The air inside was heavy, stale, like it hadn't been touched for decades. But the desks were lined up perfectly, as if students had just been there the day before. We stepped inside. The floor groaned beneath us. Lisa, the quiet one, whispered, "This feels wrong. Let's leave." And then it happened. One of the desks slid several inches across the floor on its own. The sound of wood scraping against tile made my blood run cold. We froze, terrified, when suddenly I felt it. A breath of air, icy cold against my ear, and then a whisper, "Get out." The voice wasn't from one direction. It was everywhere, surrounding us. At that moment, the chairs rattled violently. The chalkboard banged so hard it shook the walls. The air turned to ice, and something unseen pressed against me, like the room itself was trying to shove us out. We bolted. We didn't stop running until we were outside the building, gasping for air. My hands shook as I realized I'd left my phone recording the whole time. Later, when I listened back, I heard it, the sound of us breathing, our footsteps, and then, clear as day, a blood-curdling scream. It wasn't from any of us, and it didn't sound human. The next morning, the principal called us into his office. He didn't yell. He didn't ask how we got inside. He just looked pale, almost sick, and said quietly, "You should never have gone in there. Don't do it again." After that, the school sealed room 2B permanently with new locks and boarded windows. Teachers even started avoiding the hallway altogether. To this day, I wonder what was really in there with us. Was it the spirit of the student who died in detention? Or was it something older, darker, that the school had been trying to keep locked away? All I know is this: I'll never forget that whisper. So close it felt like someone's lips brushed my ear. "Get out." And I've never set foot in that hallway again. us come to the next story. The girl in the bathroom mirror. This story still makes my skin crawl because once I saw someone in the mirror who wasn't really there. And once you see her, you never forget. It happened when I was in middle school. I had to stay late for cleaning duty, and by the time I was done, the hallways were almost completely dark. The school was empty, except for the faint buzzing of fluorescent lights above me. Around 6:15, I went into the girls' bathroom to wash my hands before leaving. The second I stepped inside, something felt off. The air was thick, damp, like the whole room was holding its breath. I turned on the faucet, splashed my face with water, and then looked up. That's when I froze. In the mirror behind me stood another girl. Long, tangled black hair hung over her shoulders, her skin pale, almost gray. She was standing perfectly still, her head tilted slightly, staring at me. My stomach dropped. I spun around. No one was there. The stalls were empty, the room silent. Slowly, I turned back to the mirror. She was still there, only this time. She was smiling. The lights above me flickered, and her lips began to move. She didn't make a sound, but I heard it anyway. My name, whispered softly, echoing in my ears. I felt frozen in place, like her reflection had trapped me. My knees shook. I couldn't move. Finally, something in me broke, and I screamed. The sound bounced off the tiles as I ran from the bathroom and collapsed in the hallway. Teachers came rushing, but when I tried to explain what I'd seen, they didn't laugh. They didn't scold me. They just looked at each other with pale faces and said nothing. Later, other students admitted they'd seen her too. One girl swore she saw a pale face appear right over her shoulder as she brushed her hair. A boy claimed the reflection smiled at him, even though his own face stayed still. Another whispered that the girl's hand had pressed against the glass, reaching toward him. The school eventually replaced all the mirrors, but it didn't matter. The girl still appeared. Some said she was a former student who ended her life in that bathroom years before. Others believed she was something much older, a spirit tied to the land before the school was even built. To this day, I avoid staring too long into any school bathroom mirror, because I'll never forget that pale face smiling back at me, watching me, whispering my name when no one was there. Last but not the least, the music room that plays by itself. Have you ever heard a piano play when no one was in the room? I have, and it's something I'll never forget. Our high school had an old music wing. The walls were cracked, the floors creaked, and in the center of the main room stood a massive black piano. Everyone knew the story. Decades ago, a music teacher had collapsed during rehearsal and died with his hands still resting on those very keys. People said he loved that piano so much, he never truly left. Most of us thought it was just a rumor, until the night I stayed late for rehearsal. I was walking past the music room when I heard it. A soft melody, slow and haunting, echoing through the hall. At first, I thought maybe the band teacher was still inside. I pushed the door open, but the room was empty. The lid of the piano was shut, the bench was pushed in, yet the notes kept playing. I froze, every hair on my neck standing up. The sound faded slowly into silence, and I bolted down the hall. A week later, it happened again. This time, I brought a friend. We waited in the hallway after everyone else had left. At first, it was quiet. Then, just like before, the notes began to play. Soft, gentle, building into a mournful tune. My friend grabbed my arm and whispered, "Look, in the window." I turned and saw it. In the glass reflection of the hallway window, there was a man sitting at the piano, his hands moving gracefully across invisible keys. His body swayed with the music, lost in it. But when I looked directly into the room, the bench was empty. The keys pressed themselves, rising and falling as the melody poured out into the empty air. The next day, I asked the janitor about it. He was an old man, and I expected him to laugh. Instead, he looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "That teacher loved the piano more than anything," he said. "He died in that room, and some nights he still comes back to finish his song." After that, I never stayed late near the music wing again. But sometimes, walking home, I'd hear it faintly through the walls, that same melody drifting into the night air. To this day, whenever I hear a piano, I get chills. Because I'll never forget the sight of those keys pressing down by themselves. Maybe it's just an echo of the past. Or maybe the teacher never left. Thank you for venturing into the shadows with us tonight. If you dare to return, subscribe, and let more stories creep into your mind. Until next time, remember, the darkness is never as empty as it seems.